Your Rolling Stone article was a pretty intense read, and you basically lay out the math that we're dealing with, whether we like it or not. And one of those key numbers at 2 degrees Celsius. How are we doing on that?
We've increased the temperature of the Earth just about a degree so far. And really that's kind of bad news, because a degree has caused a lot of change, more than we would have thought. The temperature of the Earth is, it turns out that's a lot of extra energy. It's only about, it's less than a watt per square meter of the Earth's surface, so less than one of those little white Christmas tree lights. But taken all together, that adds up to enough to melt the Arctic. We saw what happened this summer. The oceans are about 30% more acid than they used to be because their chemistry changes as they absorb carbon in the seawater. And maybe most obvious for those of us who are terrestrially based creatures, the atmosphere is about 5% wetter. Warm air holds more water vapor than cold. So the dice are loaded for drought and for flood. If there's any place in the world that should have some sense of this at this point, it's Texas. You guys have had some of the hottest weather. And I think Texas last summer before last, had the single hottest month any American state's ever gone through. Drought that killed 300 million trees across the state of Texas. That's pretty impressive demonstration of what 1 degree will do.
But our political leadership here, maybe more than any other major state, is locked in the mindset that at best, that climate change is just a natural phenomenon. There's nothing we can do about it. And at worst, active denial, referring to as a hoax.
Yeah, I don't think it's locked in a mindset. I think it's bought and paid for. I mean, we're at the absolute center of the fossil fuel industry in this world. It's no wonder that denial would be at its deepest among rich Texans, because that's how they got rich and powerful.
The debate last night, no mention of climate change, and in fact, there's been very little mention of it on the campaign trail by either candidate. How is that silence broken?
Well, it is an astonishing silence. This summer, July was the warmest month ever recorded in the United States. We're in the middle of a drought across the Midwest, so deep that the price of grain's up like 40 or 50%. And yet, it's as if it's happening in some other planet. The only way you break the silence, the only way to make these things salient political issues, is to build movements big enough to, demand some action. Occasionally, we're able to do that. The tar sands pipeline thing last year was an example. We may lose that after the election, but at least for a year we were able to make enough fuss, and happily people in Texas are making a real fuss today. One of the ways we break it is when people like Daryl Hannah, who got arrested today, get arrested. All of a sudden, reporters who are too lazy to be out doing that kind of work when it's just normal people perk right up when someone who they heard of once upon a time gets arrested. So you do what you can.
So you don't think it's too late for Keystone? I mean, it's kind of moved into this different phase now where it's segmented and they're trying out a new strategy.
Well, sure. I mean, they're certainly determined to build this southern part of it, and people are determined to try and at least slow it down, hopefully block it. The biggest remaining political question is what will happen to the border crossing part of Keystone. Will Barack Obama, if he's reelected, approve it? We know Romney will if he gets the chance. I'd say the odds are pretty good, reasonably good, that Obama will too. We'll fight it as hard as we can. I guess it'll be a real gut check moment for Obama. We'll find out if he's, we'll find out how serious he is about dealing with climate change.
Well, the reaction a lot of people who understand the climate change is happening, that it's largely caused by humans, sometimes the attitude is, yeah, it's scary, I feel like it's too late to do anything about it, and I feel despair, and despair leads to paralysis. How do you break that?
So it is too late to prevent it from happening altogether. We've raised the temperature another degree, and even if we do everything right, we're probably going to get to 2 degrees, very close before we stop. But though 1 degree is bad and 2 degrees will be worse, there's a world of hurt between 2 degrees and 5 degrees, and that's what the scientists tell us we're going to get unless we really go to work. So, I mean, grown-up time. We deal with the fact that we're in a mess, and the first rule of holes is stop digging. That's what we got to do. We got to stop pouring carbon into the atmosphere. The good news is, we pretty much know how to do it. There were days this summer when Germany, which is the one country that's taken this stuff seriously, generated half the power it used from solar panels inside its borders. Now, Germany is, 1,500 miles north of Texas. It's a kind of foggy Wagnerian place, The thought of what Texas could be doing if it really unleashed sun power and wind power and everything else, it would still be an energy superpower, just a benign one.
So you think there's a positive case to be made for action? It's not just about sacrificing going to live in caves like Governor Perry would suggest that environmentalists are saying, but there's a positive economic
my
case.
house is no cave, and it's got solar panels on the roof. We do just fine. Look, everybody knows we're going to make this transition 50 years from now. The question is whether we'll make it 10 years from now in time to keep from trashing the planet along the way. And the oil and gas guys just want to hang on as long as they can to the windfall profits they're making at the moment. We're not addicted to fossil fuel as people. We could care less where our power comes from. Do you mind? Do you really care where your power comes from when you turn on a light? Wouldn't you be just as happy if it came from a windmill or a solar panel? The addicts are at the fossil fuel companies. They're addicted to the flow of profit. Exxon made more money last year than any company in the history of money. That's addictive.
You've been doing this for a long time. You wrote one of the first popular books about global warming. Last question. So you have a little bit of a long view. What's your feeling right now? Where are we? Where are folks who are involved in the climate fight?
We're getting them. We're building the movement. We started 350.org almost 5 years ago now, and from nothing, it's become the biggest. In some way, CNN said it was the most widespread political activity on Earth of any kind. I mean, we operate in every country but North Korea. That doesn't mean we're great organizers. It means every place around the world people can feel the effects of this stuff and want to do something about it. That said, we're still losing this fight. More carbon goes into the atmosphere every year and the temperature goes up. So we have to become more aggressive. We're launching the day after the election this big road show, 25 cities and 25 nights across the country that will attempt to get things like universities and churches divesting their money from companies, fossil fuel companies. It's not all right anymore to be paying for your education with investments in companies whose business plan guarantees there will not be a planet to carry that education out on. It's not all right if you're a church to take your money and invest it in companies that are running Genesis backward. We've got to apply all the pressure we can, and then we got to hope we catch a break or two from physics and chemistry along the way. So far, we haven't caught many. Things have been worse than the scientists predicted. But maybe if we do our part, we'll catch a break someplace along the way.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.